Hi, good afternoon. I'm from Orange. So today I'm going to talk about PGM's application and its future tendency in China hydrogen industry. So there are fourfold of my presentation. First, outlook of PGM's application in China hydrogen industry, market size and a forecast of a catalyst used the hydrogen industry in China, competitive landscape of catalyst manufacturers in China, future tendency of catalyst used in hydrogen industry in China. First, outlook. So now the application of a PGM is on a faster track, especially during the 5-year plan period. And hydrogen is already included in the government work report. And so in the hydrogen industry, be it storage, transportation, or terminal utilization, the PGM has become indispensable. It is expected that there will be a significant surge in the demand for the PGM in China hydrogen market. And so we have already seen some mature applications of PGMs in hydrogen utilization. First, electrolyzer, and second, fuel cell. So PGM for both applications are core parts. In the fuel cells, PGM is able to promote anode reactions and cathode reactions to improve the efficiency of power generation. Because a cathode is more complicated versus anode. Therefore, cathode contains more PGMs versus that of anode. And that is why we have a very focus on cathode. Currently, our catalyst contains 40% to 100% of a PGM. In terms of the cells, 50% of the 50% PGM contain the catalyst enjoy the best cells. So it helps the hydrogenation reactions and improve the efficiency of the electrolyzer, because anode in the electrolyzer has a more complicated structure versus a cathode. Therefore, the cathode in electrolyzer contains more PGMs. And the catalyst for anode side is mainly iridium dioxide, or IRO2. And so the catalyst for cathode side is mainly PTC catalyst, and the PT loading percentage is around 75%. And in terms of application of a PGM in other hydrogen-related industry, we see that there is ultra-pure hydrogen utilization and organic liquid hydrogen carriers. So with the PGM at play, we are able to enjoy very pure hydrogen. However, there's only very limited players are able to deliver purification of hydrogen to the market. But I believe that with the technology maturity and the development in the downstream, there will be an increasing or growing demand of palladium and rhodium. And in terms of organic liquid hydrogen carriers, and we have seen there are 3 major materials: tooling, or DPD, and NEC. And in China market, DPD is the major player. And correspondingly, in terms of catalyzer, they are pretty similar. And PT or PD, ROIR, RUOS, or seeing opportunities to play to these applications. So for the PGM-based catalyst, for NEC, it uses less PGM, therefore the cost is much lower. But in terms of organic liquid hydrogen carriers, we are still in the piloting phases and not yet quite mature, and we don't see mature application in the market. Therefore, when we are looking at the hydrogen market, we need to focus on the fuel cell cathode application and the anode application in the electrolyzer. So if we look at the market size and the forecast of the catalyst used in the hydrogen industry, actually we understand that the FCV cells and the catalyst demand are very much correlated.
And since the year 2018, and you can see the fuel cell vehicles increased to 7,600 vehicles. According to the research, you can see and the negative cathode and of the fuel cell and the usage about 0.8 gram and for each kilograms, and with the growing and improvement of the larger scales and of the new vehicles and the improvement of productivity by 2023. By 2030, and then there will be more than 589,000 vehicles in total. And then the consumption of those the fuel cells will reach to 68 tons. And due to we have the late starting point of the PAM and PM electrolyzer, so we are still at the beginning of the commercialization. And in year 2023, the shipment of PM electrolyzer was 75 MW megawatts. In the future, and the number will be 3.7 GW gigawatt. And according to the research, and you can see this PAM electrolyzer and the usage and of the positive cathode is 0.7 to 0.8 according to statistics, and we can forecast that the demand of 2023, the demand of the positive cathode is 75, and by 2030, and then the overall demand will be 2.8 tons according to the forecast of the Energy Agency of US. And by 2030, and the overall PM and the PAM electrolyzer will reach 2.5 to 3A for per centimeters. And in the future, and the cost of PM electrolyzer and will be reduced by 60%, and the shipment and of the electrolyzer, so the percentage will increase from 10% to over 30% by 2030. And you can see that the total shipment of PAM electrolyzer and will be over 13 PAM, and the overall demand will be for the positive cathode and will be 30 tons. After knowing the market research and have look of the competitive landscape catalyst manufacturers in China. By now, and you can see the fuel cell and the localization of the catalyst for fuel cell localization and is around 20%, and we have a lot of the catalyst companies and including Jiping, Tangfeng, and Canton New Energy. Cotton New Energy. So for those catalyst companies in China started at a later stage, and for now the overall market still relies on the international companies. And you can see Tianzhong and this company entered the China company for quite a long time. So that's why they accounted for 60%, and the other company accounted for 20%, and for local companies accounted for 20% of market share. And we can clearly see that. And the new energy accounted for 25%. So with the localization, the improvement of localization in the following 5 to 10 years, so they will be under the 30% of the international companies and local companies in terms of prices. And you can see the cost of carbon-based catalyst. The cost 80% comes from platinum, and the 20% comes from the processing fees. And in terms of the imported catalyst, we still need to pay an additional 5% of the imported tax. And for now, and Tianzhong, the price is from 120 to 200 RMB per gram, and because for and the Jiping and Umicore, and you can see the Jiping New Energy. So the price is 120 to 140 per per gram. And in PAM electrolyzer and the steel and this market and is led by the international companies and such as the Harris and Umicore and TKK and BASF. Of course, there are some local companies achieve the large supply, including Zhongke and Jiping and Coltron New Energy in terms of the prices. And you can see under the Umicore. The price and Umicore is about 1,300 to 1,500, accounted 20% of the total price, and the processing fees accounted for 20% to 30% of the total cost. And if the catalyst is imported, and you need to pay an additional 5% of the imported fees. Of course, Umicore, the price is around 1,300 to 1,500 per gram, and for GP New Energy, the price is around 1,100 to 1,200 per RMB per kilograms. Lastly, let's have a look of the trend and of China's hydrogen catalyst market. And by now, and we can see, and the fuel cell price reduced from 20,000 per kW and to 2,000, and in which, and we can clearly see that. And estimated to 2013, so the fuel cell system price and will be as low as 500 RMB and per kilogram. In PAM electrolyzer, and we can clearly see that the cost is decreasing hugely. So the price, the cost, so from 2010 and it dropped from 100 gram per gigawatt and kW and to 1,000, and we can clearly see that and by year 2030 the PAM electrolyzer cost and will drop to 2,000 RMB per kilowatt. So due to the drive of the lower cost of the downstream market, how could we assure the activation and durability of the catalyst and the reduced carrier of these metals? And it has been a kind of the market trend. So how to reduce the precious metal loading has become industry consensus. Now have a look of the performance of the domestic cathode catalyst for fuel cell and the trend of PT loading. And by now, and the platinum load of foreign and the PTC catalyst has reached 0.2 gram PT and CM2 according to the research. And by 2030, the price will decrease to 0.1 mg/PT CM2. So now and some other companies and from China, and there's kind of Tangfeng Energy and has the catalyst PTC catalyst and for the core ingredient, and they use the palladium to the replacement, and then the percentages of PT reduced to 15%. And in terms of the performance of palladium and the performance and stability and durability are better. In addition to that, and some other companies like Zhongzi and Kongchuan and the other companies are also doing the research of the catalyst with the structure of ruthenium and the palladium. And now they are still doing these small patches and haven't achieved the larger supply. And in terms of the PAM electrolyzer, and by now, the mainstream and the anode catalyst, and we can clearly see that by 2030, it is estimated to reduce to 0.2 gram mg and for per centimeters. And you can see, and in the other leading companies, you can clearly see that the amount of iridium used as anode catalyst on membrane electrode and is decreasing. And you can clearly see that it happens to the other overseas companies. The cost of the materials hugely reduced, so it is estimated to improve the total market share throughout the whole world. And we can see, and by now, and we also use the potential of the PD in catalyst for fuel cell and PAM electrolyzer. And in terms of the price, and the price of palladium is 200 to 300 RMB per gram, and the price is higher. And however, according to the price of iridium, so the price of palladium is still 1/5 or 1/5. And according to the test result of the company, And in the catalyst fuel cell, and if you replace the platinum by 25% of the palladium, and you can see performance increased. And in palm electrolyzer, and if you replace 30% of the iridium of the palladium, you can see catalyst is 2.6 times of the original one, and the price is dropped by 20%. However, and if we replace the platinum by palladium, so it's not easy to do that in China. Even if we rely on the leading companies in China, it still takes time due to the catalyst of fuel cell. It takes long cycle, and the catalyst and from the different small and short and piles and the transportation. So basically it takes 2.5 years to do the test. So that's why a lot of companies in the industry, and they are not very much strong in the willingness to replace the catalyst. On the other side, the new products of catalyst promotion still need to rely on the downstream clients. On one hand, we need to get the recognition and acceptance of the catalyst companies, and on the other side, it requires the acceptance of the downstream clients. And we can clearly see that, and for replacing the catalyst and for the fuel cell companies, they cannot make the decision. So the decisions normally made by the end users. So only the end users are the big decision maker. Otherwise, the replacement of new materials are meaningless. And now have a look of the forecast of PGM demand in catalyst with PET's partially replacement according to the statistics. By 2023, and we can see, according to our research, and the demand of platinum is 225 kg, and the market demand of palladium is 86 kg, and by 2023, and we can see, and the PGM is 7.3 tons in total, among which the platinum is 5.6 tons, and the palladium is 1.8 tons. Of course, and if we consider this in a more positive way, and if the currency is increased by 2.5 to 3A CM2 and PM, and PEM electrolyzer accounts around 30% of the total electrolyzer shipment, and then by 2030, and we can clearly see that, and by there, the overall demand of PGM will be 7.8 tons, among which and the PT 5.3 tons, and the iridium and 480 grams, and palladium 2 tons. So thank you so much for listening. That is all for my sharing.